Are we live?
I believe that we are live.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Mass Empowerment Project. I'm your host, Jonas Minardi. This is Guy Marcotte.
Hello there.
We're going to continue our conversation. We're waiting for guests to pop in. Last week's conversation was all about the values of disobedience. And we had two fantastic guests in Joe and Andrew, and then a chime in from Adam Williams. And today, I know that, here comes Andrew right now. And Kumar, look at that.
Perfect. How about that? Did you already allow them in?
I can do it, right? Allow.
Is on.
Welcome, gentlemen. How are you, Andrew?
Oh, living the dream. How about you guys?
Hanging in there.
Is that my roof?
That is your roof. Good morning, Kumar. Hello. Welcome to the Fiesta.
My camera the wrong way.
Kumar, I want to introduce you to Andrew. You already know Guy, and you already know me. Andrew's in Seattle. Kumar's in Arizona. And Kumar is building his own self-sustainable community in Arizona, out in the northern Arizona, right?
Oh, please, yes, northern Arizona. Please spread the word. Just free land.
Free land?
Free land?
Yeah. Free.
Really? You'll have to explain that.
Yeah, I'm open.
I paid for it, and I don't believe in rent. I believe rent is theft.
Oh, so you own the property, and you're allowing people to come and live for free on the land? How many acres?
No, I'm not going to allow them to live here because I need them to be invested in the property. So I'm going to give them until I can create what's it called, a co-op. I'm going to give them a 99-year lease for $1 a month while I'm working on the details.
That's beautiful. I have toyed around with so many of those types of ideas over the years. It's awesome that you're actually doing it. So you guys chimed in perfectly. I just gotten done the introductions, and we were talking about Kumar. You were on the first episode, but you missed last week's episode, and we were really getting into the morals and values of obedience versus disobedience, and how being as non-compliant as you can is what we need right now. And when I was talking,
go
ahead.
I hate to interrupt. It's so funny because my mom was part of the civil rights movement, right? And she taught me as a young child civil disobedience. And I don't know what happened to that generation, but my mom now is she's like obey.
Oh, I find that constantly with the boomer generation. But
what happened to them? What traumatized them? Is this some kind of like CIA mind control or what?
Well, Andrew, I'm sure you have something to say about that.
Well, this is all trauma-based mind control. I mean, we're experiencing trauma on every level throughout our life right now. Just purely removing our own agency from life and saying, okay, listen to authority. Authority knows what to do better than you, so sit down and listen to them, dumbass. Like, that's pretty much what we're told through every aspect of our life right now, and it's been going on for a long time.
About that, if you don't mind me interjecting, I'm sorry. I called a crisis hotline.
You called the crisis hotline.
The reason I called the crisis hotline, I just didn't want to bum out any of my friends.
Well,
it was about. By the way, can you see her?
It's a good
Her
day
name
out
is
on the
Survivor.
plantation.
Her name is Survivor. You know why?
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 She's the only one that made it.
Oh, out of her litter?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I was really torn up. My mom didn't want to hear the story, and I was like, I'm not gonna bum out any of my friends. They have these crisis lines, you can call them, and there's somebody to talk to. And I was just like, I just want to talk about my kittens, right?
Yeah.
I
This
understand.
led to
We need.
This led to me waking up to 5 police officers. I think 6, actually. 6 police officers at a tiny house surrounding my bed.
For what?
I'm not sure if they were pointing the guns at me,
For what?
they all had their hands on their on the gun, ready to go.
When was this?
A couple of days ago. I mean, no, probably a week now.
So, well, by the way, that's going to scare people away from the plantation. All right, back to the business.
I mean, you can't even call it.
Back to the business.
You can't even call a crisis line, though.
Back to the business at hand. Right now, we are seeing a bigger and bigger push by the day for the vaccinations. We were and by us being last week, we got a lot onto the masks and why not to wear the masks, and how every time you do put on a mask, you are lengthening and increasing their power.
Well, that's one thing we have going on in Arizona is we don't do the masks.
And Andrew was bringing up the good points last week about this.
It's my passion. This is my passion topic right now because in Seattle, everybody, like at least 80% of people that I see walking down the street on the beach are wearing their masks, and they've got their they've got. I mean,
I'm sorry for laughing. It is. Well,
it's
actually sad.
It is.
It's actually a traumatic event for me. Every time I see somebody doing that to themselves, that hurts me. Like, I've had to build up armor against it now because it's happening every fucking day. But
well, let me tell you this. I'm retired, so I'm just working on the eco village. My lady friend still works. She works at a medical office.
And
so there's no way they're going to let you sit there at the desk at a medical office when everybody's terrified, right?
Well, this is part of disobedience. Quit your job. If you're to get her to quit her job,
as soon as I can afford it. But
well, I'm just saying,
land is paid. The land is paid for, so that's why I can invite anybody out here.
Well, the currency of psychopaths is control over their minions.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, her bosses are really, really sweet. They're just,
Kumar, let Andrew get out his point, please.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
The more we say no and disobey, the less and less control these psychopaths have over any minions whatsoever at all. And it's almost like if you turn on a light bulb in a room and it's from a completely dark room, we don't see it, but the light spreads right at a very fast pace, but the light spreads from that center point, and you can always tell it's spreading from that center point because the shadow is being cast on whatever wall you're in between that light and that wall. What I figured, the way every single time somebody walks into a place where there's a sign on the door that says masks are required, and they don't, and they say no, and they just walk in anyway and pretend like it's no big deal, that is the equivalent of turning on one of those light bulbs for the being that is there trying to enforce those mask mandates because they're not mandates. They're arbitrary dictates from psychopaths. I call them psychopaths.
right, well,
They haven't even written down on a piece of paper yet. And it's a ridiculous thing for everybody to continuously obey this complete nonsense.
Well,
we're all on the same page about the mask, but
we're
It's
talking
a-
about the psychology of how. Because the thing is that
and the psychology of it.
The
But
fundamental call that I'm passionate about making is in every aspect of life that doesn't pertain to natural law. So natural law is simply this: don't steal. Okay,
do
right,
no harm.
but
theft is wrong. The violation
to
of consent
me,
is the only crime.
and
So that being said, if we
look,
just live
I
by
want
that,
this group to have solidarity. So
It does. That's
keep
the thing.
that in mind.
The whole concept of this show is to let people know, because when people in our particular mindset start to feel isolated, like there's not a whole lot of us out there, and there is no platform for us to get that word out to more and more people. So that's why that's what we're trying to create right here, is to let people that are sitting in their house feeling these ways, listening to their
Right.
TV and hearing a whole other bunch of crock coming out of their television sets, to let them know that there are other people going at this from another angle and pushing back. It's
Well,
fun.
you know what's funny is I woke up to like 5 or 6 cops, and they all had their hands on their guns. So did I. Mine was under my pillow.
Well, you're lucky you're alive, because then a lot of times
No,
hands in the
I
air.
calculated my odds, and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, I could take out one of them,
No,
and
then
they'll
you're
take
done.
out one of us.
Exactly. You can't.
But in a chess game, you don't sacrifice one pawn
Well, you do.
for another
But-
pawn unless, I mean, actually the battle has to start someplace. But anyway, I had a
But the
point.
thing is, you're not beating this system with force. You're not. They have more guns.
Yeah.
They have more powerful
I don't think
guns.
they do.
What do you think about that, Guy?
You want to know why I don't?
Andrew?
Yeah, they have the superior force. I mean, without a doubt, they have the superior force. Even if
Can I tell you why I don't agree with you?
Sure, of course.
Okay. When I was getting ready to move all my stuff to Arizona from Texas, right? Some ex-veterans, I guess you can't be an ex-veteran, some veterans, right? Ex-snipers showed up. They would not take a penny from me. I tried to feed them. They don't want food. For some reason, they just knew I needed help, and they showed up and they loaded my moving truck because
Because you were getting kicked out of Texas.
I'm not in the best health,
Because you were
but they
getting kicked out
loaded
of
my
Texas.
truck for me. So if there's veterans out there
Though the Oath Keepers are a real deal.
that are snipers, and I'm glad you said that, because I was in a cop car and I met a really nice police officer, which that is hard words to come out of my mouth. You understand what I'm saying? Especially coming out of Atlanta. So in Atlanta, we have the meanest cops, but it was a 45-minute transport, because that's how long it is from Winslow to Holbrook, where the jail was. And I just chatted with the cop. I told him who my favorite police officer is. If you're interested, my favorite police officer, he I don't know if he suicided himself or if he just got suicided, but his name is Michael C. Rupert.
Oh, we all know Michael C. Rupert. We all know. I would imagine all of us know who Michael C. Rupert is. Do you, Andrew?
We do? Okay.
Michael C. Rupert
So-
was the guy who exposed the crack epidemic in Los Angeles in the 80s.
Yeah, Operation Watchtower and
Yeah.
Operation
he was
also a 9/11 researcher.
I don't recognize the name, but yeah, I remember him now. I've heard of that.
Yeah,
name.
yeah, and it was maybe like 8 or 9 years ago where he died suddenly, and you know whether or not he was murdered. who
Well, his
knows?
dog had just died,
Yeah,
so I'm not sure. Either way,
nobody is.
I don't want to spread a conspiracy when I'm not sure. But I talk to him regularly. I also talk to. Do you guys know Cynthia McKinney
I would read her stuff.
Former congressman.
from Georgia? Yes,
Yeah.
she was the only one that wanted a new investigation.
Absolutely.
And she was, I met her through Mike Rupert.
Okay.
The only thing I'm willing to talk about in regards to the state is how we need to abolish it immediately.
Exactly. I agree completely.
I think
That's why the conversation. I want the conversation to lean more that way.
Look, we all have the same goal, but
It's the methods. We gotta talk
immediately,
about the methods. We need to talk about the methods of that. And non-compliance is a big thing. Getting the word out is a big thing. But we kind of went down a tangent there that I wasn't expecting. And I'm trying to figure out how to get us back on track.
well, back to
I'm really shy
little bit,
about
we were-
video, and
we were-
something compelled me that I had to be here.
Gotcha.
We have a huge anarchist movement in Arizona.
That's
Hey.
good. Hey,
Well,
there you go.
And
Well, you have
I
stuff
can
like
bring
Slab City and all that.
I can bring people in, but I don't think we should do it that way, because that's not how they do it in the spy movies. They have cells.
Oh gosh, you just. All right. Whew. I'm losing control of this conversation, huh? Let me bring Guy. Please help pull me out of here.
Well, I mean, for a little bit, we were talking about like resistance, and I think we were trying to say that violent resistance is just will not work because, and my thoughts is they just have a superior force. You can't really violently oppose them because they have the better weaponry. They don't have the numbers, but they don't need the numbers because they've got the technology. They can do whatever they want pretty much.
Their greatest advantage is the fact that they are not encumbered by morality.
That's true.
They're psychopaths.
Please.
So the question becomes this. Please give me a second. So the question becomes this:
of course.
How do you get into the hearts and minds of the badge wearers, the gun carriers, the enforcers? How do you get into them? Because just to take an example, if you take whether it was bogus, whether or not you want to take the official narrative, whether it was a staged event or whatever, you take the supposed insurrection at the Capitol back in January.
I don't believe in any of that. But okay.
Yeah, like I said, the narrative is what the narrative is. But even if you take it as base, the cops did allow the people in. The videos are there of everybody being allowed in. So even if you were to say that it was a truly a pro-Trump movement or a pro-freedom movement, or they will break rank. They did it in Iceland. They did it in Ukraine. The police will break rank at a certain point.
All right. This is something I say often. The only solution is the Icelandic solution.
I love that solution. It would be beautiful.
It's a good one. But look what happened, and then didn't last, right? They just created another political gang of parasites that then are,
Yeah.
Well, they got to be a little bit better off, I hope.
maybe, I doubt it, because they still have political parasites. Fundamentally, we don't need any of them. These guys they create nothing. All they do is harm people who violate their arbitrary mandates.
All right, I see what you're saying. What do you guys think about Jordan Peterson?
I think he's a smart dude.
Yeah, he's a conservative. He's a conservative. What I was going to say to your point, though, Andrew, is this. Because you keep using the term psychopath, and I agree with you.
Parasite.
Yes, they are parasites. Is I think that part of the actual education system in this future society that we're speaking of that is stateless, a stateless society.
Well, no, hold on, because there's something I want to make very clear. We presently have a stateless society. We do. We have for a long time. There is no such thing as a quote unquote government or whatever you want to call it. We actually have.
It's kind of a mafia.
It is. It's anarchy being coerced by a mafia that uses force,
right,
to impose their arbitrary wills on an otherwise peaceful population. So anarchy is factually what exists today. It's a variant of anarchy. I like to call it corporate-tarchy, ruled by corporations, right?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, by the way.
So this is
you and I use some of the same terminology.
I'm just trying to be accurate with the words. As long as we call it, as long as we say there's a state, there's not. There never has been, ever.
Okay. Call it what it is, because you're right.
That was Mussolini's definition of fascism.
Corporate power,
corporate-owned government. The point that I was trying to get to was I think
also known as corporatism. Sorry to interrupt. I apologize.
I think that at a young age, you kind of have to be able to teach people the character traits of the psychopath. You know what I mean? So it's easier to identify. And instead of it being the thing that's encouraged to have success, your ability to manipulate a situation in order to earn more money and climb a corporate ladder and blah, 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 blah. I think that those traits should be exposed, and I don't know how exactly to do it, but you want to take the more human traits, the more empathetic traits of children and reinforce those.
Well, keep in mind that most quote unquote adults are children.
Well, yes, they've created a society that's created perpetual children.
Perpetual children have been always. I mean, because they've accepted mommy and daddy government. There's a legal doctrine called parens patriae, where government, quote unquote, claims authority as parent of the nation, mother and father of the nation. It's called parens patriae. This is why they're attempting to destroy the family so that the government can step in and be like, oh yeah, this is me now for you, slave.
Right.
That's pretty much how that's working. And with that involved, we have to keep it in mind that this brainwashing has just completely retarded the growth, maturity wise, of most of mankind right now. So if I think to make it really, 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 really simple, we've got to talk to adults like they're 5 years old. And it is this simple. Here it is. Don't steal. Theft is wrong. The violation of consent is the only crime. Period. That's your axiom. That's where it starts. See, it just so happens that the only thing that government ever does is steal. Factually, all they ever do is steal. So if that's the only crime, then their very existence is a crime. We can get rid of that, and we can rebuild complexity based on that axiom. The axiom of theft being the only crime, or violation of consent. Call it how you will.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I used to be part of the magical community.
And what did they do?
And they only have one rule.
Don't steal.
Do no harm.
Well, so by theft, I'm talking about any violation of consent, rape, murder, assault, coercion.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, that covers
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
Do no harm.
It is really that simple. I mean, for years, it's about there is no victim, there is no crime, and the state, the fake state, it
The
cannot
mafia.
be.
Let's
It
call them the
cannot.
mafia.
Yeah,
Call them the
they,
mafia.
they cannot be the victims.
No,
No,
a piece of paper can never be a victim. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, they like to be the victim, though.
They never can be, unless if you have knowledge, you can hold their feet to the fire about it, and you can squash their jurisdiction in a minute. But that's a topic for a different conversation.
Well, no. That's I'm not.
I might
I'm
need
okay,
to talk
I'm
to you
okay
later
with going down that
because
rabbit hole, Andrew. Like I said earlier, like I'm willing to go down any rabbit hole today, because I want to see where the conversation goes instead of me trying to lead the conversation.
yeah,
You know? And you're very right.
If you don't mind though, give me some tips.
Before I get into that, first and foremost,
Not right now. I'm saying as at a later date because I don't want to interrupt the flow of the which I probably already am, and I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt the flow of the show.
All right. What were you
or the
saying?
conversation.
Well,
But I do want to go down that rabbit hole.
He's got it.
Yeah, all good. First and foremost, though, I want to say that I copy claim my voice, and anything I say is for entertainment purposes only, and my image too. Voice, image, all of it, copywritten, copy claimed. Secondly, it just comes down to knowing who and what you are.
A free man on the land.
Just a man.
Yeah.
That's it. Just a man.
All right, so we're talking about peaceful solutions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Peaceful solutions is knowing fundamentally who and what you are. And like I was saying last week, about gratitude. Okay. Gratitude is the fundamental nature of the self itself.
True.
Everything
else is a perversion.
And in other words, the more often you're sitting there feeling thankful, the more you're in alignment with your most authentic nature. So when you know who and what you are, and it's the essence of gratitude, appreciation, thankfulness, that's what I'm referring to.
Right.
What business does another man have calling you a name?
None. It's actually an insult. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, like sticks and stones,
I get exactly what you're talking about. I can't remember the guy's first name, but his name was Schaefer, and he started a thing in Alaska at first, and it ended up shifted to Montana, and then he ended up in jail. But the thing is they kept coming after him, and he was standing on the principles of being a sentient human being. And
careful, just a man.
I like it, but that was the principle he was using, and and he had set it up so that what the big thing was, he was trying to root out corruption in the police departments. So they had set up a system where it was basically like a ringing a bell. Like if somebody saw something going on, like a person getting pulled over by the cops, they had a whole network, cell phone network of people, and they would all call each other, and everyone would converge on that site and film the interactions of the cops and whoever they were harassing at that particular moment. And it created quite a stir to the it was very good. But it created enough of a stir that they still ended up eventually using force and throwing him in prison. And he's still in there now, as far as I know.
Well, it sounds like it was.
So now I have 3 people to worry about.
No,
there's
a whole ton out there, but I've got Edward Snowden.
There's nothing to worry about, Kumar. That's the thing, is we're all making our stances. We all understand the repercussions that can happen to us, and we're doing it consciously in defiance of that, because we believe in where we're going and what we need to do in order to make this place the world that it can be, where we are free. That is how we were intended to live here. We were not intended to be manipulated, bossed around, and coerced to become part of a system that insults.
Okay, so
very
that's why I asked you about that. I can't think of his name anymore. It's the college professor from Canada.
Peterson. He's a whole
Yeah.
different animal.
He talks about the lobsters and how they have their serotonin, and they have a natural hierarchy, and it's chemically based in their brains. So he basically says that there's no way around it. We're gonna have a hierarchy.
I don't believe that. Do you believe that, Andrew?
No, nope. Well, so there's a whole. He's a college professor. Okay.
Exactly.
College professors have zero credibility with me. Zero. Not even a shred of credibility with me. Just the fact that he partakes in any construct, any semblance of that construct already means that he's lost it all, and I have no time for his nonsense.
You might
And,
have a point.
Well, yeah. I mean, that entire construct.
He's a likable guy. If you watch his interviews, like
so is Fauci, right?
the way he talks.
No, Fauci is not likable.
Huh?
That's how these psychopaths work. They get you to think they're likable. Oh, he's likable. Oh, he gets me. Yeah, he gets. I mean, that's their manipulation tactic and strategy. Call bullshit on all of it. I'm sorry, I do, and that's the key. We've got to understand how these psychopaths.
Anybody that rises to a position of power is a psychopath.
Yes, because they have a clear and expressed desire to impose their will on people violently. Violently. With guns. With fucking guns. Okay? Like, that is...
Well, the analogy I always end up using with people, especially when they start really, like, their brains can't handle what I'm saying about the belief in authority, is if me and you were out to dinner and you were telling me about your life and I decided to chime in with 20 things about how you're messing up your life and you should do this,
right?
You would tell me basically to go to hell, and the conversation would end. But yet you put some person in
it would depend on what you were telling me.
Hold on one second, Kumar. Put some person in a suit in a white building at some place that they call a Capitol, and he tells you how to live.
I'm telling him he's full of shit because of what he's wearing.
No, what I'm saying is that.
But if you told me,
gives them legitimacy.
If you and me were having dinner and you told me I was messing up in 20 ways, I would contemplate what you were telling me.
I don't think what he's saying. I think what
you put a white coat on.
What were you saying, Guy?
I think what Jonas was trying to point out that is if one person tries to tell another person how to live and what to do, what they can't do, the person that they're telling would say, who the hell are you to tell me this? However, for some reason, if you put a white lab coat on them, like you said, or you put them in a suit and ship them off to Washington, D.C., and then you give them
I got the point, but I'm telling you, for me, it's the opposite. You take away the white coat and the white suit, and I might listen to you because you might have some valuable wisdom.
Yeah, I think
put an orange robe on instead.
I think most of us here are feeling the same way, but for the majority of people, they've been conditioned to believe in authority, and I think that is
all right.
Underlying problem.
Okay, now we're all on the same page.
Well, let me ask you this then, because that word right there that you used, like, instantly raised the hairs on the back of my neck, Guy. When you say that it's the majority, because I when I speak to people, I normally within 10 minutes can get somebody pretty much on the same page with me. Maybe a couple wrinkles along the way, and most of them feel very unheard. So the question is it really the majority, or is it just what's being
the illusion?
is it just what's being force fed down everybody's throat by the media? Is that there's only two sides to every discussion, and all of us are the majority, like you just said. If you were,
Wait, are you saying the illusion of the majority?
well, that is what I'm asking. Do you guys believe that is it an actual
I
majority?
think it's the illusion. I think
Yeah,
people like us are actually in the majority.
that would be something.
We're just not televised.
Right.
Well,
We're televised right now.
It never will be televised. This won't. I mean,
We're not going to be on
only
corporate
well, television.
TV, but that doesn't mean we're not the majority.
It only exists though to convince you that we are the minority.
Right.
Exactly.
If we think any different than what's coming off the television, we're a minority.
Right.
And that's fundamentally what is the.
How many of us actually threw the TV out the window?
I didn't throw it out the window, but I threw it out.
Yeah, I haven't had one in a long time. Long time.
That's why we think the way we do.
No,
we threw that piece of garbage out. I threw mine out like 10, 15 years ago.
Dude, I threw the entire fucking education system out when I was in high school. I said, fuck you guys. I don't have any time for this bullshit anymore. You guys have been lying to me since the very fucking beginning.
You're a lot smarter than me, but
that's bold.
I'm really similar. You want to know why? I went to Montessori school. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I spent the first half of my education in Montessori where they teach you to love to learn. And then I saw what the public indoctrination camp was.
So have you been taught the trivium then?
Say again?
Have you been taught the trivium?
I recognize that word.
Educational trivium.
Yeah. Were you taught that in Montessori school?
Were you taught about?
I was really young when I left Montessori, but I noticed a huge difference when I went to the public indoctrination camp. I was like, whoa.
Please explain the trivium, Andrew.
Yeah.
For us and for the viewers.
So the trivium is the ancient classical model for education. It's how to use your mind. Grammar, logic, rhetoric, right? You take in grammar, you take in data. Read stuff, watch stuff, bring in data, right? Then build your logical faculties, your internal logical faculties right here. You figure out deductive and inductive reasoning, various forms of all kinds of logic. I like Corlean logic, but that's just me, and I can put more stuff. It's just symbolic reasoning, very, very simple. But then, so there's grammar.
Well, I mean, that's what they taught me in Montessori.
But Kumar, let him finish. Let him finish.
Well, I'm sorry.
And then there's rhetoric. So rhetoric is what you do based on the knowledge that you've been able to properly logical process. And now you can speak, now you can act, now you can actually do something proper for your life and for everything. So it's that 3-step process: grammar, logic, rhetoric, repeat. Grammar, logic, rhetoric, repeat. And so based on more grammar, more information, we can then use our logical processes to come up with a better course of action than we previously had. I mean, doesn't it make sense that the older we get, the more we'll alter our perspectives and opinions based on better information?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what this is about, is grammar, logic, rhetoric. It's never losing control of your mind and evolving it in order to create your best life possible, so that you can then empower others to do the same. Because you can only empower others to live their best life once you're living yours.
And that is the entire point of this show right there. Because if it's called the mass empowerment project for a reason, because I feel like the biggest problem that we have is that a lot of the people that I end up speaking to, when they end up agreeing with pretty much everything I say on what needs to happen, all say it cannot be done because you would have to get the masses to believe it too. Even though you believe it and I believe it, but all of them, it's always about the other person instead
No, we
of
don't.
making
No,
it
we
about,
don't.
and it's about you. It's all about you.
Here's the thing that I've found after a long time of doing this. We don't need the masses
No.
at all. Like the masses are sheep. They'll follow whatever is most convenient for their narrative. Like they're lazy, they don't do any thinking for themselves. They just follow along whatever's on a talking box and think that that's going to tell them how to be in the world. We don't need dumb fucks like that. I'm sorry. It's just
Look,
like
I apologize.
Just like you said.
Could I say something?
Yeah.
About that? I was wondering because we kind of touched on this before, and what I was saying was that the majority of people are like this. They're looking towards an authority figure of some sort. Now, is that the natural state? I don't think so. I think if we didn't have such a strong indoctrination, what do you imagine people would be like if there wasn't this public school system and public news, that's obviously.
Can you call it by the proper name, indoctrination camp?
That's what it is. It's indoctrination.
Well, the Department of Indoctrination has only been here since, 1956, I think, was when they came around. And prior to that, they weren't teaching this. They were teaching the actual classical education. So there's the trivium, and then there's the quadrivium also that gets into mathematics, music, sciences, the arts, that sort of thing, to create a full. So there's the trivium, just get started, and then it goes into the quadrivium, which is what you're able to do with the trivium once you want to get into some of the higher level thoughts and that sort of thing like that. That's called the classical education. That's called what was being taught to people prior to 1956 in schools.
And that's how you end up with guys like Einstein and guys like Tesla and all those type of people.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, though, it has its own limitations, because every time you start trying to teach these things, you come from the bias of what you've learned about it, right? So, I mean, the minds that don't fall into any box whatsoever at all are the ones that eventually just take the trivium and figure out their way to analyze their world. But the foundation is the trivium. I mean, the trivium, that's all education, that's all everything. And so, we talk about how do we shape and move the minds of men in the direction that's in their best interest to be free. I personally think that it goes back to the education. It goes back, the fundamental word that we have to do first, the very, very, very first step, is figure out new ways we can disobey whatever the programming is, change our routine, switch everything in our life, and start learning. Like we've got to learn what the trivium is, and then start using it on our own illusions, because that's only when it's going to make massive changes here, is on the inside. But the sheep are never going to do this. We don't need all of the sheep to wake up all at once. What I really think we just need is we have to hit a certain threshold of lions. We're here for the lions, not the sheep, because there are plenty of us.
Answer my question that I posed earlier, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Which one?
I was moving to come and build an eco village, and I really didn't have the strength to move all my stuff into this car. I mean, the moving truck, right?
Right. What was the question?
And I've got two military guys, ex-military,
helping
snipers.
Helping you, yes. What's the question, though?
They just show up out of the blue.
So you manifested that. If we were going to take it down, it was manifested.
I mean, those guys are out there. How do we know how many?
We don't. But the thing is the way that we find out, like we were saying last week, it will not be televised because it happens through our interpersonal interactions that we are having right now. This is us finding people in similar mindset. None of us are all going to think exactly alike, but similar mindset.
Well, these guys definitely had similar mindsets. I don't think they would have come out to help me to move my stuff to an eco village.
They definitely did.
But they were both Army. I'm not sure if they were Army, but they were both retired snipers that felt really bad about
the way you were being treated,
their crimes of against humanity, and they were working really hard to try to make amends.
of course. What were you about to say, Andrew?
Well, I was waiting for a question.
Yeah, there was no question.
Okay.
What was the question?
Let me throw the question in. If the military hypothetically is on our side,
They're not.
why?
They're not. We can end the question right there.
Yeah,
there are
just
individuals.
right there.
There are individuals that, after their military service, do end up waking up to the truth. Some of them end up committing suicide. Some of them end up trying to make amends. But the military itself is not on our side. There's no way possible for it to be.
No more than the government's on our side. No, of course they're not on our side.
No, they're not.
I'm talking about ex-government.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Somebody retired, someone out of it. That is why.
Right,
I believe
well,
that's why they
different.
say that. That's why the
only
government does say that veterans are the danger. They're a danger. They're a danger.
They
They
do.
red flag them.
There's only
They
two good
do.
cops.
That's kind of
There's only
mean.
two good cops. Two kinds of good
They
cops.
go and they serve this system, and the moment that they're cut free, they're considered on a watch list. They're criminals.
What were you about to say, Andrew, about the two types of cops?
Two types of good cops: ex-cops and dead cop. I'll say that right now. I'll like barefaced. That's it. Those are the only two good cops. Ex-cops, hey, as soon as you quit the force, you're back on the team. And then if you're not going to quit the force and you're going to continue to work for the enslavement of mankind, then you deserve.
Well, what about the Oath Keepers, though?
Well, they're ex-cops, right?
They're ex. They woke up afterwards. They seen the lies that were fed to them. Most of them.
I give them all the way out. Look, quit the force. Do mankind a favor. Look, if you're going to continue to perpetually enslave mankind for the arbitrary will of the mafia, then look,
right.
I have no.
Right. Yeah, and arbitrary rules that switch every other month. They
all
add
right, so
more stuff.
this is my question. You guys wanted me to articulate a question. How do we know that there's not more ex-cops, ex-military, than there are existing military? How do we know that we don't have the numbers?
I would say that most likely there is way more.
We do have the numbers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The only thing that says that we don't have the numbers is the TV.
Well, and that's the thing. We don't have control of the most dangerous fucking weapon on the face of the planet, which is the television, which is the mass media writ large, the newspapers, all of those. Those are the most dangerous weapons on the face
All
of
right.
the
So,
right,
I'm
TV,
sorry I keep
newspapers,
interrupting.
magazines,
Yeah.
history
I'm
books.
sorry I keep interrupting, but why don't we make our first move? I'm not saying the four of us together. Why don't we make our first move to capture the television stations?
If there was a way to do it, I would. It's been done. They've been hacked before. I don't have that technical skill to hack them. What they did the whole.
We could find
Just like
somebody.
in V for Vendetta, exactly like they did in V for Vendetta. Yes.
You've seen They Live, right? The movie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, all right. Exactly how they did in They Live as well. Exactly. Yep. Let's do that.
My
Who's getting
mentor.
on that tomorrow?
My mentor.
I'll start developing the program for that.
Well, they also did it in real life, though, with the original, when Max Headroom first appeared, it was a hack on CBS, I think, in Chicago, where all of a sudden they were in the middle of a program in Chicago. I think it was in the early, don't quote me on the dates, but then, do you remember Max Headroom from the 80s? The cartoon character with the spiked
I do.
hair? Well, all of a sudden they were in the middle of like a live broadcast, and it all fuzzed out, and some hacker had gotten into the satellite or whatever and broadcast Max Headroom on there before. He had never been anything before that. So, I mean, it can be done, but I don't have that technical skill.
Well, I think
listen.
Nowadays, we don't really need it.
Yeah.
I think with our ability to make stuff go viral all around the world, we just need to get the right memes to go viral, the right ideas, the right hashtags, the right. I mean, you guys know what a meme is fundamentally, right? A meme is to an idea what your gene.
There's two classes of people. There's
Hold
TV
on, I wanna
watchers
hear
and
the end of
there's
this.
internet
Please.
people.
I want to hear the end of this for sure. A meme is what?
A meme is a fundamental building block of an idea.
Yes.
So the memes, every time we speak a word, we're doing so based on memes. The right memes need to reach a breaking point of the consciousness of mankind.
So
So you're talking about the science of memetics.
So you're talking about the meme war, basically, that we've been hearing about for 10 years or so. That's where it's all taking place, because at this particular point, people absorb.
The battlefield is the mind.
Yeah, people absorb in small bites. Yeah.
Most. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be that way. You know, we can train ourselves as we train ourselves to increase our focus factor, like our ability to sit down and focus our attention. It's a learnable skill. This is not outside the reach of anybody. It just takes time and repetition. I mean, repetition is the mother of learning, right? We got to continuously do right shit in order to get right results, right? We keep doing the wrong shit and we won't get the right results. But there's no better time to start than right now. And that's the positive news about this whole thing, gentlemen, is that every single moment is a brand new chance.
I've been fighting the meme war for like more than 10 years.
I think that most likely all of us have. That's what I mean. And I do see
the problem is half of the people out there are watching TV. They don't look at the internet.
That's not true. That's not true. I've watched so many people. For me, one of the best feelings in the world is, let's take an example of friends of mine or whatever. You want to call them Facebook friends, online friends, whatever, that started off arguing with my points that I was making, and then years later come back at me regurgitating what I said to them 5-6 years earlier, but as if they had just come up with it on their own. And that brings us back to last week's whole thing about seeds. You plant the seed, you let it go. I'm not worried about converting you right now. And I understand why you have your resistance at this point to something brand new being presented to you.
Right.
But what fascinates me is that in this country, especially with the way that we were drilled with this being the land of the home and the brave and all that stuff, how hard it is to get an American to even embrace any concepts of freedom. That hurts my soul.
You understand where the Department of Indoctrination came from, right?
I mean, I know that originally it was set up by the oligarchs to create
the Prussian education system.
Yeah, to create a good workforce.
Well, why?
Obedient workforce.
No. Why? Was it a workforce they were after?
It should be back, okay?
Yeah.
Was it a workforce they were after, or was it an army?
So what you talking? Are you talking about the World War I army?
Well, yeah, I mean, the army, that's where they got it from. The Prussian soldiers were the most deadly fucking fighting force on the face of the battlefield.
Right.
And they said, okay, how did you create such a force? Well, guess what we did? We did this model of factory indoctrination. And then as a result of that, I mean, I just saw an army commercial today. Okay, because I'm in a hotel and I've got this TV, turned it on just to see what happened once. And, and there was an army.
I was traumatized last time I did that. So
there was an army commercial on there.
I swore to never do it again.
where they literally said, "Are you tired of the world of illusions?"
Oh God.
And they showed the social media sphere just all digitally, and like the digital thing, all that's illusory, right? But then he got so mad that he jumped through that digital sphere
Into an army fatigue.
into the army fatigue, because now the
Yes.
army's there to give you what's real. See, this is old magic, gentlemen. This is old magic.
Right.
I mean, this is not anything new under the sun. The king has been trying to build an army.
Andrew, judging from what you're saying, are you familiar with John Taylor Gatto?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've heard the ultimate history lesson.
Yeah.
Listen. Okay, that was a very good. It might still be available on YouTube for anybody that wants to watch that. But I've watched the whole thing. It's really freaking long. But
well, I think everybody needs to get real familiar, real quick with the torrent structure. How to torrent get into the
toroidal field.
No, torrents like digital torrent downloading of. And then archiving data. Like if you find something that resonates with you, download it, save it, be able to share it, become your own YouTube. Like
I'm keeping a local archive of a lot of things that I suspect will eventually be wiped, scrubbed from the internet.
Well, and then put it up on things like library.
I'm like you. I'm censored.
Oh, I'm censored constantly. They don't want it. See, here's the thing about powerful people. They do not want you educated. So one of my favorite quotes: "Powerful people cannot afford to truly educate those they oppress, because once you are truly educated, you won't ask for power anymore. You'll take it."
Right.
Does that make sense? You'll fucking take it because it's yours already. You are the power, and you know that. Now, what the fuck can arbitrary bureaucrats say to you? All right, like what the fuck? Shut up. We're all just men here. We're all just, as soon as we're on that playing field, that we're on that level, right? Just a man. Even those of us with wombs are men. We call them womb men.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, which all because most of the conversations that I do end up happening here in the United States. And you always run into those constitutionalists and stuff like that along the way, and that's why I'll always bring it back to the Declaration. Always bring it back to the Declaration of Independence, because the Constitution was just resetting up a whole new authoritarian structure.
Well, let's put it this way. Hold on. Let me drive this point home real, because there's a very simple drive home point for this. Okay, the Democratic Republic of North Korea has a constitution.
Absolutely.
You guys know that, right?
Yes.
The Democratic Republic of North Korea, North fucking Korea, has a constitution.
Exactly.
They only have one candidate on their ticket.
Oh, no,
at least we have two.
They're like, oh man.
Yeah, okay. And that's why I go back to the Declaration of Independence and the whole line about all men are created equal. And that's where you have to realize that those people that have positioned themselves in this authoritarian position, they are your equal.
Well, I also happened to switch past another channel, and I got like a 15-second snippet of what's it called, Shepard Stewart on CNBC, right? And you know what he said? He said, "We've got a new update to our COVID vocabulary."
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, a COVID vocabulary.
What was the update?
Oh, it was some kind of like a double, triple super variant or some weird. Okay, I mean,
of the common cold.
I only mention that to point at they know where the power is. It's in your vocabulary. It's in your vocabulary, what you speak after logic based on grammar, right? So that's rhetoric, your rhetoric. What you speak is power. And they're attempting to control that with every form of their propagandization. Propaganda by Edward Bernays. If you guys haven't read that one, you're way behind.
Oh yeah, I've read that. I read that years ago.
Yes.
Send it to me. I'm behind, but I
No worries.
always use the term public indoctrination camp.
It's called Propaganda by Edward Bernays. He was the founder of quote unquote public relations. I mean, this was written in the 50s, I think, or way even before that.
Yeah, I think it was.
I was slightly familiar with what
50s.
you were saying about how they duplicated the and they do it in prison too. The school system is almost identical to the prison system.
No, it is, because I've been in jail before, and when I was there were guys fighting over what was on TV.
Right.
No, I'm serious. That
Oh
started.
no, it happens all the time.
And I'm like, wow. I mean, this is exactly what the.
Well, we have done our hour.
Yeah, we have. So let's wrap this up.
In the end of all this one kind of went all over the place, but in the end, I just want to sum it up that we have to continue doing what we're all doing on an individual level.
Well, and let me add to that real quick. Start with gratitude, right? Every time you think I, think thank you.
Right? I like it.
And I mean, try it. I challenge everybody I talk to about these things to do that, because it works.
I'm going to try that, because I never thought of that.
Say that one more time exactly like that for me, Andrew.
Every time you think I, like me, myself, I, like, think thank you.
And that's how we're going to end the show right there. The Mass Empowerment Project. Thank you very much, guys. You all have a great Wednesday, and maybe we'll do this again next week. Hopefully we're all here again.
All right.
I appreciate all of you guys.
Stay
thank you very much for having me.